Bill Shaikin, LA Times national baseball columnist, joining us and trying to look at the Shohei Otani situation with a variety of angles. We got 2 weeks to go for the trade deadline. Let me look at the business side of this, Bill. Can the Angels afford to not re-sign Shohei Otani?
I think the Angels would be delighted to re-sign Shohei Otani. The question is whether Shohei Otani would be delighted to re-sign with the Angels. And I know there's a concern, will the Angels offer him a deal? You can say a lot of things about Artie Moreno, the Angels owner, but you can't say that he doesn't spend the money. In fact, the guy with the largest contract in Major League Baseball right now is Mike Trout, who was given that contract by Artie Moreno. So I have no doubt Artie Moreno will make him a good offer. I think the question is, does Shohei want to stay? And no one really knows the answer to that right now.
But can the Angels afford to let Otani go to free agency?
As opposed to a trade, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of what has been lost in all the trade discussions is the way Artie Moreno operates his team. And again, you can say what you want about him because the Angels haven't won with Trout and Otani. That's certainly, look, scoreboard, bottom line. But ultimately, Artie Moreno isn't an owner that says, you know what, we're going to rebuild for a few years, come back and see us in 5 years. I'm going to make a lot of profits in the meantime. He puts money into the team. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But the idea that Artie Moreno is going to blow up the Angels is just not going to happen. So if you're in a situation like you're in with Otani, you're not looking for somebody's 5 best prospects who are all in single A and double A. That's not going to work because Mike Trout's still here. So you're going to want guys that can help the major league team next year. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. And if you're on the other side of that equation and you're a contending team that you want Otani to put you over the top this year, the guys you would trade to the Angels, you're going to need maybe not all of them, but certainly some of them. And I think that really complicates any trade.
So you think when all's said and done, Otani goes to free agency, but can somebody outspend Artie Moreno in this situation? Or will somebody outspend Artie Moreno?
Well, I'm sure somebody can. Artie Moreno is a single gentleman. The Dodgers, for example, were bought with money from insurance funds. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a competitive market. The Giants are, for example, if you go to a Giants game, remember, they've spent the last few years trying to buy a superstar. They tried Bryce Harper, it didn't work. They tried Aaron Judge, it didn't work. They tried Carlos Correa. Their doctor saved them from that. So they've got the money. And if you go to a Giants game and you look behind right field, there's a whole urban village going up there. That's money that's all going in the Giants' pockets. They can outbid anybody. Certainly the Yankees can outbid anybody. Stevie Cohen by himself can outbid anybody. There'll be plenty of competition, but I don't think it's going to be a situation of Artie Moreno runs away from it.
How do you monetize Otani?
If you're the Angels and you have him through his first 3 years when he can't even get to arbitration, and then his arbitration years, it's really easy. He's made the Angels a ton of money. If you ever watch an Angel game on TV, the billboards behind home plate, behind the batter, they're all in Japanese. The outfield signs are in Japanese. Many of the stadium giveaways, the T-shirts and the pillows and the hats feature Otani. Japanese companies sponsor those. That has added up in the past to about $10 or $15 million a year. So if Shohei's making $1 million, you're doing great. If Shohei's making $50 or $60 million a year, that's not going to do it. I mean, you will sell more tickets, and certainly you will be able to sell some merchandise. But most merchandise, if it's not sold outside the stadium, that's shared revenue among teams. International broadcast revenue is shared revenue.
Okay.
So if you're signing Shohei Otani, you're doing it because he's going to make your team better. But the idea that he's going to pay for himself is not going to happen.
Bill Shaikin, the LA Times national baseball columnist, joining us. The A's, is there any chance that they stay in Oakland?
I would say there's a very small chance. It's a little bit better chance than the A's making the playoffs this year, but not that much better. Basically, baseball was kind of tired of waiting, and who's ever at fault in the situation, the A's, their various owners, various governments, not only in Oakland, because the A's have tried to move around the Bay Area, mostly the Giants from blocking the A's from moving to San Jose, which was the obvious answer.
Yeah.
The problem now is that the A's went to Vegas. They got close to $400 million in public funding. The bill's already signed into law. There was more accomplished in Vegas in 2 weeks by Major League Baseball's accounting than there was in 20 years of looking for a stadium in Oakland. Now, what's happened in Las Vegas is that some people, as you can imagine, are very upset about this. Why are we giving money to an out-of-state billionaire is a powerful campaign pitch, right? So the teachers union in the state of Nevada would like to take that campaign pitch and put it on a ballot. Whether they can get to that point or not, we don't know. It's very expensive to get something onto a ballot because you need to collect a lot of signatures. It would, of course, be even more expensive for the campaign. And there are a lot of unions lining up in favor of this project. Certainly the construction unions that would build the stadium. The most powerful union in Las Vegas is the one that represents the folks that would work at the stadium because, as everyone knows, there's kind of a large hospitality industry in Las Vegas. They run the town. So unless something happens either in a court, if that $380 million in public funding is challenged and somehow thrown out, or unless there's a thing on the ballot, I think it's a done deal, and I think it's a very small chance that it doesn't get to that point. I think the A's are gone.
I know we focus on Otani, and rightfully so, with the trade deadline. Can you see any other big names possibly moved?
You certainly can. I mean, it's not any great surprise this time of year. You look at the teams that maybe are not doing so well and try to figure out who their best players are. So, for example, Marcus Stroman from the Cubs is having a great year. Cody Bellinger from the Cubs is having a pretty good year. Those are named players that people have heard of and have done pretty well. Maybe guys that you haven't heard of as much, Dylan Cease with the White Sox, for example, or Dylan Carlson with the Cardinals. Again, these are teams that, are not doing so well. And, from an LA point of view, there are high school teammates both on the market. Lucas Giolito from the White Sox, Jack Flaherty from the Cardinals played high school ball together, and they could both be on the move. And certainly their hometown teams, both of them are looking for starting pitching.
Rob Manfred looks like he's going to be voted for re-election. I'm guessing based off this year, is baseball having a great year?
Yeah. Everybody said, oh, baseball's dead, right? We've heard that for how many years? And yet in the first full year after the pandemic last year, coming off a lockout that was imposed by the owners made more revenue last year than they ever had. It's going to be more this year. Attendance is up. Bud Selig once said when he was commissioner, my job is to get the owners' asset values to rise. And Rob hasn't put it quite that plainly, but the owners are his bosses. The owners are happy. The owners don't mind when Rob Manfred takes a hit or two because it saves them from doing it. I think everything's fine. I don't think he'll have any issue winning re-election.
Bill, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
All right, take care.
Bill Shaikin, LA Times national baseball columnist. It sounds like Shohei Otani, you go to free agency, but is somebody going to, well, there's always one. Somebody gets squirrely. You got 12 days there, but there really hasn't been much that's leaked out.